Obviously, the angle I come from, it's not that I hate RO. I understand it's completely the best way we could deliver the purest sort of water. And if we could do it in a way like the marine guys do and remineralize and prep all that water, obviously we're just working with such big volumes, then I'd be all over it. The reason I'm sort of not is, and my angle coming into this, which I have tried to explain, is that's simply my whole issue with this is at the start of it, there seems to be so many people under the impression that they need RO in order to be a successful koi keeper or grow fish. That's the sort of the thing, like with the whole water purification stuff, because you're just starting to try and deliver a message, you've got to start really at the most blunt point. So with the water, it's just like, stop doing that until you know what's going on with your water. And like with RO, it's I wanted to challenge, because it's not true that you can't deliver the results by not running RO. And for me, it's opening people's up minds. It's quite easy to get sucked into these worlds where it leads you to believe, if I run RO, I produce jumbo fish. And it's that stuff I need to tackle, because the layers of complexity. Great, run RO, but then you don't heat your water, so you're never going to grow your fish anyway. Or you run RO, you eat your water, and you feed them Rice Krispies. So we're still not going to do it. Or even that, you feed them sake kari, you run RO, you heat your water, you've got every bit of filtration kit going, but you don't select the right fish, and you don't truly know how to feed them properly. Because a little bit like you saying, the guys running RO on a knife's edge, feeding to make jumbo fish real, the powerhouses that you see, you're kind of feeding on a knife's edge as well. So that's just where I sort of started with it. Where you're at makes a complete and utter sense. And again, Frank, if it works for you, mate, hats off to you, and keep on with it. That's what I'm all about.
But like for me, like, I try to keep everything as linear as possible. So if I'm like, that's like, I don't like the thought of the top up dosing, like the top up, not having a trickle and topping up, because I think, well, it's going to, rather than the water go through the filters nice and slow, giving them every bit of chance to get it out, you're dumping a load of water in, adjusting the pH, KH, temperature, and that's a bit of a shock. So I think if you can have a trickle but have good water coming through it, it's always a winner.
Even that with a trickle, obviously it's an evolving conversation, because again, people do need to do more research. But again, the whole thing with the trickle is seeing the amount of people flooding excessive volumes of water through the system to the point where the system isn't really dependent on that water. And so many issues arising from that, and all it simply is what you've described there. I'm completely in tune with. If you're trickling just to basically top up what's needed, great. If people 100%. Out there, that's what they're doing. But you can do that by having an auto top up that's going to cut off when your water's where it needs to be, and control it and set it all up that way. It's still the same sort of difference. It's just the excessive use of the water, where you're just literally flushing it all down your overflow, was the bit that I've got an issue with.
Like back a long while ago now, before RO, I'd probably have the trickle at a couple of litres a minute, loads going in. Whereas now I've got about 450, 480 mils a minute going in of RO. So just pure RO. No blending. I used to blend it, and then say if the KH needed to come up a bit, I just open up the tap a bit and mix it. But now I've just cut that off and just literally bicarb only, and the fish look so much better for it. And it's a lot more stable. So
if it's working for you, mate, fair play. But I'm just all about that ultimate simplicity.
But if you used to see, just literally, I'll actually have to do nothing other than the missus chucks 2 scoops of bicarb, and there's nothing to do. If you run it on a knife edge, don't get me wrong, you got to be on the ball. Like one day I came home from holiday, and it was nearly gone. There was half a drip went in, and it was at the end. So, ready for some questions?
Fair play. But I'm glad you thought it's a conversation I want to keep having with people. But it's just so people understand the true angles of it, and that I say, as it stands, even now, I mean, episode 26, it's not a long time to be hammering these other concepts into people's minds after years and years of the same shit being spoon fed to people.
Yeah. See, I'm one of these strange people that has to find my own way and do my own workings out, and make my own mistakes. Don't get me wrong.
The best way.
I do think this fish here, the Kajaku, when the water was softer, the skin looked better, and the Benny stayed nicer. As soon as the waters got harder and obviously easier to run the pond, you do start to get the shimmies appearing, like black blotches, compared to when it was soft. So I do think it has its benefits, but just for stability and enjoying a pond, I couldn't agree more. Get that. I'll
always counter that one though, Frank. Just prime example: Shisui and Iowakaba, two of the worst varieties for zooming up, darkening up, shimmying up. And I've got a client out Manchester way whose water is soft as hell out the tap. Yeah. And he cannot keep them in his water. He absolutely trashes them.
Yeah.
Whereas you give them to me here and I keep them looking absolutely mint. It's just can be certain fish sometimes reacting to different waters. It's a whole crazy game with so many variables just to manage to pinpoint one thing and say, fair play, if you've noticed it's doing better in that softer water, it might be a fish that is more suited to that environment. But likewise, the sort of shimmy thing you mentioned, there's plenty of breeders in Japan suffer like mad with this.
Yeah.
And we're typically saying, Japan's soft water everywhere. Within reason. It's, hues of Benny, especially with Kohaku, seem to be more crucial and prone to shimmying than just reaction to water. But not denying it, not saying it's not true, just saying there's a lot of variables to consider, and it's never just that sort of matter of fact that soft water does this, that, and the other.